I'm Chef Frank, this is Protocooks, and today we're making hot wings with homemade blue cheese dressing. For my wings, we're gonna break this down into 3 parts. Making the sauce, making the wings, and making the garnishes. Let's talk about the ingredients. For the sauce, I have hot sauce, butter, ketchup, garlic. For the wings, I have whole chicken wings. For the garnish, I have some celery and carrots that I'm gonna cut into sticks. And then I'm gonna make my own blue cheese dressing. Apple cider vinegar, milk, mayonnaise, sour cream, garlic powder, and blue cheese crumbles. I'm gonna make my blue cheese dressing. Now, you can buy this, no doubt. It's definitely easier to buy blue cheese dressing, but I wanna show you how easy it is to actually make yourself. And it tastes so much better. The one thing I do have to say about this is I like to let it sit overnight. So you might have to make this a day ahead. Okay, so this is all you really have to do is I take my blue cheese. I buy the crumbles. I think they're fine, you know? If you have a big chunk of blue cheese, you can crumble it up yourself. Sour cream. This is no time to use low-fat stuff. Mayonnaise. Get everything in the bowl, basically, right? I'm gonna add some cider vinegar. There's a lot of fatty things in here. You need a little bit of acidity there. I'm gonna add garlic powder. Now, most people like that are chefy say garlic powder is not good. I like garlic powder. It gives you a little bit of a punch. It's not really that bad, and I don't need a lot. I just want some background flavor, so just a little dusting of garlic powder. I'm gonna add a hefty crush of fresh black pepper, a fair amount. I like mine a little peppery. Salt. Yes, the cheese is salty, but you definitely need some salt in there. And then some milk, right? And the milk is gonna thin everything out and let it come together, okay? And all you have to do is mix it up. Trust me, it's 20 times better than store-bought. Look at that, chunky, creamy, blue cheesy, right? And all you have to do now is put it in the fridge. Ideally, like I said, I like for it to go overnight, but for the most part, if you don't have that much time, just make it and serve it. Let me taste. Good, really good. Just remember, you need that vinegar for the acidity. So I'm just gonna throw this in the fridge. Carrot sticks and celery sticks are a must. I cut my own. If you don't wanna cut your own, you can buy stuff prepared. I just think it's better, cut it fresh. I've washed my vegetables, I've peeled my vegetables, and all I'm gonna do is I have a nice little dish here, and we're just gonna cut them into sticks, right? Be generous with these. I think these are a great part of having hot wings. They're a snack, they're kind of like a palate cleanser and a refresher in between the wings. I like to have plenty of celery and carrot sticks. I hate when I go to restaurants and you have to fight with the people you're sharing the wings with. Who gets the celery and carrot sticks? My wife and I always have to argue about it, right? No, you have it, dear. No, you have it, dear. I like to put them in a little dish. I don't like to mix them in with my wings. Presentation could win you some points. Good. Celery and carrots. All right, it's time to make our sauce, and I want to talk about hot sauces first. Now, most people will probably think I'm a Frank's Red Hot guy. I'm not really a Frank's Red Hot guy. It's good. It's kind of like industry standard. I think it's a little overpriced. I think that they could do better on their pricing. I am a Texas Pete guy. I use Texas Pete. I like the flavor. I like the price point. I think it's a really good hot sauce. Sometimes once in a while I'll use Steve & Ed's if I can't find Texas Pete in the supermarket. But for the most part, I stick with Texas Pete. I love it. My family loves it. So that's what I use. So to make my sauce, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the whole bottle of Texas Pete. I'm not sure what size it is. I'll put it in the description. Right into the pot. What's cool about this sauce is that it actually stores really well too. If you don't use it, you can chill it down and reheat it. I'm going to take a 1/4 pound of butter. That just goes right in. I'm using unsalted butter because who controls the salt? I control the salt. All right. Ketchup. I like ketchup. Ketchup is kind of tangy. It adds a little sweetness. It has a little tanginess. It also makes my sauce a little thicker so it sticks to the wings a little bit better. And I think it tempers the heat, right? And then 1 clove of garlic. You could use garlic powder for this if you want. I just usually just drop a clove of garlic in there. I just give it a smash. Drop it in just for flavor. Let's bring this over to the stove and I'll show you what we're gonna do. So I put this on a medium heat. I'm gonna hit it with some salt and some pepper. Seasoning is always important. I like black pepper in this, yes. All I want here is for the butter to melt and be emulsified into the sauce mixture. I don't really want it to be greasy and separate. I want this to be kind of a nice thick sauce. So just keep stirring, and when the butter is melted, we'll set it aside for when our wings are ready. Just keep it warm. I'm using the whisk just to kind of break up the ketchup. I can look at it and I see that the ketchup is kind of in little globs, but now that I'm kind of mixing, I'm breaking up that ketchup. You can see it's getting nice and thick, and when you're cooking in a professional kitchen, a lot of times you'll add cold butter to things to make the sauce thick, and that's kind of the principle here. Is I'm going to add butter, I'm going to emulsify the butter, and we're going to have a nice thick sauce. I'm just going to keep this warm while the wings are frying. Before we prep the wings, let's talk about serving size. Normally I will make 6 to 8 wings per person, but you have to consider other factors. Maybe I'm going to have other things like sliders, linked here. Or maybe I'll even have ribs, linked there as well. So you have to adjust accordingly. If you're gonna have more food, cut the wings back a little. Let's prep the wings. Wings have 3 parts to them. The wing tip, I cut that off, save it for stock. The flat, and the drumette. Now, some places will serve this whole. I don't personally like it whole. There's people that like the drumette, there's people that like the flat. I personally am a flat guy. Fight me. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut the tip off. Like I said, I say that for stock. And then cut the flat and the drumette apart. Now, if you have trouble finding it, all you have to do is bend the joint a little, and where the joints meet, you just cut. Usually there's a lot of cartilage there, right? And so if you can't find it, just bend it and you can see where they hinge and cut right there. I personally like the flats a little more than I like the drumettes, but pretty much any wing you give me, I'm going to eat. I don't really trim off any fat or anything like that. I like extra fat and skin. Crispy skin is delicious. One of the things I like to do when I have time is to take these wings after I cut them up, lay them on a rack on a sheet tray, and let them dry out overnight. This way the skin dries out, and when you fry them, they get a little bit crisper, right? I'm not going to do that today, but it's always an option. I realize not everyone has the room in their fridge to let these sit for a day. So if you have time, give it a shot. It is time to fry. I have vegetable oil in my pot. I'm going to heat this to about 375, 400 degrees Fahrenheit. I'll put Celsius down below. So while this is heating up, let's talk about our wings. My wings are dry. If your wings kind of are wet on the outside, dab them with a paper towel, okay? I'm going to season them up really well with salt. I'm not going to use pepper because pepper tends to burn when you're frying it. So just salt, and I go pretty heavy with the salt, right? I have a pair of tongs here so I can flip them over, but I'm going to season these really, really well. I find when I go out, the wings are very rarely seasoned up before they go in the oil. And that's something I like to remedy. Then I just turn them over, get them to the other side, season them on both sides. What I'm going to do now is fry off the big pieces first. So I'm going to pick and choose the bigger chunks. The drumettes are usually a little bit bigger than the flats. So I'll put all my big pieces in together so they fry at the same rate. And I'll put my smaller pieces together as well, just so they all fry at the same rate. They're going to take a few minutes, right? So I think my oil is ready. You want to be really careful with this because if you overload the pan, your oil is going to go everywhere. Most people are afraid of frying at home, and I understand that. But you just don't want to overload your pan. I'm going to drop my wings in. I'll probably do 2 batches. These will bubble up. If you overload your pan, you're also going to cool down the oil significantly. When you start to see bubbles like that, it's a good thing. Bubbles mean that the water is boiling out and the wings aren't going to get greasy, okay? So I'm just going to leave that, and then we let it go. And I'm going to let it cook for about 10 to 12 minutes or until my wings are cooked through fully. I want this to be fully cooked through and nice and crisp on the outside. All right, first batch is done. I'm going to take them out. They took a little longer. They were a little thicker. These took about 15, 20 minutes, but look at them. They're beautiful, crispy. I put them onto my rack. I'm gonna let my oil come back up to temperature and I'll fry off the rest. I've let my oil recover. I've let the temperature come back up, and now I'm gonna add the rest of my wings. Sizzling away. The second batch is done, all right? I'm gonna take these out, drain them really well, and they're gonna go directly in the bowl that I'm gonna mix these in, all right? My first batch has cooled off a little. So what I'm gonna do is just throw them in this oil for about a minute, just to get them hot. All right, I threw the first batch in for about a minute or two, just to reheat, drain them off, put them with the second batch, drain them really good. Let me clear everything away and mix these up and then plate them. Everyone always asks me, what do I do with the oil when I'm done? There's a couple of things. If the oil is still good, it's not too dark or it doesn't have a lot of brown bits in it or burnt bits in it, I strain it and save it. I put it in a couple of Tupperware containers and put it in the fridge, back of the fridge. Next time I fry, I use it. If the oil is no good anymore, I always save my container. I let this cool down to room temperature, and then I put it in the container, and I usually just put it in the garbage. If you have a better way, please tell me. I'd love to hear a better way to do this, but I never, ever, ever put it down the drain. Wings are fried. I warmed the sauce back up. It's still nice and emulsified. I might not need all this sauce, but it stores really well. So I'm gonna give my wings a nice coat. Give them a toss. See how that sauce sticks really nicely? Look at that, right? Give them a really good toss. And then they go directly onto my plate, right? Right onto the plate, give a nice stack. I'm gonna pour the sauce over it. Make sure you make a mess. Always making a mess. Nice and crisp, you can hear them crispy. I don't think you need any garnishes on top of this. You do not need parsley. Don't put anything on top. It's good the way it is, all right? Right, pour your sauce over just to finish it off. And that's it. Let's taste. Now for the best part. Triple T, time to taste. I'm gonna get in there and get a flat because they're my favorite. With the flats, I always tear it apart first, right? I take the big fat side, dip it in my blue cheese, slide it right off. Mm. 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 Wow. The wings are tender but crispy on the outside. Blue cheese, nice and tangy. Mm. If you've never made homemade blue cheese dressing, you have to. Try this recipe. Let me know how you like your wings in the comments down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give us a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. We have merch in the description down below. We also have a P.O. box down there. I want to thank our Patreon patrons for supporting us. Thank you. And that's it. That's my hot wings with homemade blue cheese dressing. I'm Chef Frank. This is Protocooks. Have a good one.